Hello and welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones and I'm so happy you could join us today for a look at some of the stories impacting our state and our lives. The COVID-19 pandemic had a significant impact on student learning, leaving many young people behind. Here in New Jersey, there's an organization working to help students who may be struggling. We'll learn how the New Jersey Tutoring Corps is helping with CEO Catherine Bassett. First, though, New Jersey is facing a crisis due to a massive shortage of judges. The situation has been described as beyond crisis by the New Jersey State Bar Association. In fact, counties like Hunterdon, Somerset, and Warren have paused civil and divorce trials, and Passaic County could follow suit. Joining me now is Assemblywoman Aura Dunn. She's a Republican representing New Jersey's 25th Legislative District, which takes in parts of Morris and Somerset counties. Assemblywoman, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate being on today.
All right, well,
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Set the stage for us. Why are we seeing such a big shortage of judges here in our state? And can you tell us exactly what kind of shortage that we're talking about?
Sure. There are over 50 vacancies right now in the New Jersey judicial system. And what we understand from the courts is what we've been told that, 25 to 30 vacancies is somewhat manageable. So we have reached, as you said, beyond a crisis point. And now with courts actually suspending civil and divorce proceedings, we are in a danger zone. And my focus was on the family and how this is going to impact so many children that are caught in limbo here.
Right. Well, when you think about divorce, you think about mainly the parents, but the impact of about parents battling that out in court, but the impact of children and people not being able to move, they're kind of stuck in a limbo. So can you discuss what you're hearing from constituents and what those ripple effects are by putting a pause on civil and divorce trials?
It's really unsettling for the children. There's always so many decisions that are actually occurred during the summer months, right? Schooling, housing, and all of that is at a standstill, all while tensions are rising. Think of that in the household. And children they're the biggest absorbers of that. I'm a child myself of divorce, and I still call myself a child of divorce as an adult here, because that legacy carries with you. And to think that this is at a standstill when parents are looking to move forward and make sure they create a healthier environment for their children. So I'm very concerned about this announcement that Passaic and other counties are suspending these trials.
Can you just discuss a little bit also the ripple effect? Because if some people are in domestic violence situations, they're in a really bad place, and once they make those moves, you don't want to get stuck by more paperwork.
Absolutely. And my concern is there's tenuous situations, right? And this is just exacerbating it. So we could be we could be seeing a spike in domestic violence cases as a result of this. So I really, and if you think about that, that's irresponsible policy making. When we can be getting the Judiciary Committee and the governor to come back and to really make this, and the Senate president, and make this a priority.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the process. In New Jersey, judges are appointed. Other states, they will run like anybody else running for mayor, for governor, for what have you. But in New Jersey, they are appointed. So what is happening to where we're not getting judges appointed when somebody vacates a seat? What's going on?
Yeah, a great question. And one would think, well, that makes sense. They don't run, so it's nonpartisan. But unfortunately, it does boil down to politics. It requires the Senate to approve these nominations that the governor puts forward. And I'll tell you, I have constituents, I have lawyers, capable, competent lawyers, maybe on the younger end of things, and they're looking to moving into judgeships, and they'll call my office and say, I don't know where to begin. How does this process work? I've never gotten involved in politics, but I understand that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to get to know this member or that member to even, be a name or have my resume at the pile.
Well, can you talk a little bit about how the process works, right? When there is a vacancy, then is the onus upon the legislative representative? Is it? Can you walk us through how it
Sure,
works?
sure. It's primarily the executive branch will, call the nomination, and it requires Senate approval, as they call it, Senate courtesy. As a member of the Assembly, I don't have that additional authority. So it really rests with the Senate approving those nominations, and if those nominations, or if that recommended candidate comes through that senator's district or county, they have a lot of say and influence on that appointment.
It's normal, or it is manageable to have a certain percentage of seats vacant, whether people retire, or whether retire, what have you. So can you talk a little bit about what's acceptable and where we're at, and how those two can that divide in
Yeah.
between?
And things are being compounded, right? Because there is a higher rate of retirement, so it's probably a higher rate of attrition than normal. But again, we have to, policymakers have to adapt to that. You have to be ready to pivot, right? And by no means we're suggesting that there shouldn't be a deliberative process over that. But again, making this a priority, meeting more frequently to get this through. So I'd shared the numbers with you. We're at 53 vacancies, and the courts will say we've on average we deal with 25 to 30. So that's right. That's almost twice the amount.
Right. Yeah.
So, and not to mention, just still trying to come out of the backlog that was created during the pandemic.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a whole nother layer to trying to navigate through. There was already a backlog. Now we're going to put a pause. It almost seems like that doesn't seem legal. I mean, the irony of the judicial system coming to a standstill.
And when I speak with judges, they will say, look, we understood we needed to use the technology, but there's nothing like in-person proceedings. And think about divorce proceedings in particular, motions, and even, two people who have shared a life together, who will be there, together to work this out. I think would actually it would actually help with the mediation factor than just through the Zoom. But at this point, like we said, we're at a crisis. I mean, whatever it's going to take to get these through.
What kind of stories have you been hearing in your district from your constituents, and what are some of these conversations? Are you able to share any that you've been having with perhaps those who are still on the bench and are overwhelmed with their own workload?
Unfortunately, and we're hearing this, across various sectors. It's almost very similar to the conversations I have with school teachers. Right, they're asked to do more with less. The workplace environment is just, harder and harder to navigate. So you're seeing this whole class of retirees, but now you have this younger cohort of professionals that are considering leaving the profession earlier as well. And then I just can't even imagine, we talk about the 53 vacancies, what that could potentially look like. So it's really important to, continue to build that pipeline.
Once you do have a nomination, how quick is that process if there aren't any roadblocks, if there's not the senatorial courtesy, that meaning the senator that individual's represented from saying, no, I don't like this person, or oh, no, I don't want that individual. If there weren't any roadblocks, how quickly could one vacancy be filled?
Like, some of the examples you gave as roadblock, we know that there'll always be horse trading. So if that also could go quickly behind the scenes, we've seen some of the vacancies happen, essentially instantaneously once approved after the committee proceeding.
Yeah, yeah, but with more than 50, I mean, even if you are called back over the summer, is there any type of a timeline that they're trying to say, all right, well, if we get, a third of them done before the fall, any type of talk going on about that whatsoever, or any type of timeline?
Laura, I have not heard it, and I really, and this all makes sense, right? This is good governance. I don't know if anyone at the helm is kind of setting those goals and those benchmarks. as we should, to, no pun intended, but to fill the bench.
Right.
I hope it doesn't come down to, do we have to start introducing legislation now to oversee this process?
Yeah, I mean,
And I think that's micromanaging, but sometimes we have to go in to address the crisis.
and how do you walk that line, right? Separate but equal branches of government, the legislative getting into even though you have to approve the judicial, but if you have to take steps to force the issue, that seems like it could be a little bit of a slippery slope.
I couldn't agree more, and I do my best as a legislator to avoid that from happening. There's many a times where I say, it feels as if we're actually litigating here, in these chambers, and that's not what we should be doing. We need to respect the balance of power in our system of checks and balances.
What about some of your fellow members of the Republican caucus? What are they saying? Do you feel like you're the only one shouting this out? Because I know the New Jersey Bar Association, State Bar Association, they have been for a long time, ringing all of the alarms, saying it's a crisis. Now we're beyond a crisis. What types of conversations are you having with some of your colleagues in the Republican caucus and across the aisle?
Yeah, actually, a lot more across the aisle with my fellow women legislators, and we serve on the Women and Children Committee together, really looking at it from this perspective, which I think has brought on some of my other colleagues to say, "Oh, I didn't think of it that way. I didn't look at it that way." And then also being so caught up in our division of power, and the courtesy issue that we think, "Oh well, we're the lower chamber. We leave that to the upper chamber." But frankly, once I saw, it was just a couple weeks ago that these proceedings were going to be suspended and impacting my district, my constituents, I felt I couldn't be quiet about the subject.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we kind of close out this segment, final thoughts on the topic. If you were able to, get this done right now, what would you say to implore people to come back and address this?
Well, I would encourage the public to get involved. If they can, contact their members, and really, at the end of the day, and if we want to, restore faith in our governance, it's about putting people over politics. And I think this situation, couldn't illustrate that any better than it's really just bring the people, bring our families ahead of all the political back and forth, please. So I just implore the governor and my Senate colleagues.
All right. Well, Assemblywoman Arjun, thank you so much for coming to talk on the show. We hope to have you back on with an update and hopefully some good news that these seats are being filled. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
New Jersey Tutoring Corps is a statewide nonprofit that focuses on addressing educational needs due to the pandemic. Joining me now is their CEO, Catherine Bassett. Catherine, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. It's good to see you as well.
Well, first, can you just tell us a little bit about the New Jersey Tutoring Corps, what it is you do to help students across our state?
Of course. We are a tutoring organization that provides services to scholars. We refer to our students as scholars, different connotation, different message sent. Scholars in pre-kindergarten through grade 8. We have been in existence as a nonprofit entity since November of last year. And prior to that, we were part of the College of New Jersey. We work with school districts, with community partners like the Boys and Girls Clubs and the Y Alliance, which is made up of the YMCAs in the state of New Jersey. And we provide 3 different models of tutoring embedded during the school day, where we are pushing into classrooms and working with the teacher to provide tutoring. We offer after-school programming, where we are meeting with scholars in schools or at Boys and Girls Clubs and Y Alliance sites after school, not for homework help, but for tutoring, 2 very different things. And thirdly, in the summer. This summer, we have 23 locations. We have 4 school-based sites. The remainder are Boys and Girls Clubs and Y Alliance sites. We tutor in math and literacy, and we have had incredible results. And a secondary but equally important focus for us is to grow our educator pipeline within the state of New Jersey. So we are hiring as tutors, pre-service educators, paraprofessionals, as well as in-service, retired, and substitute educators. Our site coordinators and instructional coaches are experienced educators.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, I'm a parent of special needs children, right? So they have IEPs, individualized education plans, written to assist them. What you're talking about sounds very similar. When you have push-in resources, it's not necessarily help with homework, it's actually help understanding the material. How is what you do different than what perhaps a student who requires special education or a little extra help through a 504 IEP? How do these differ?
So I too had a daughter who was on a 504, so I know exactly what you're talking about. We provide services to all scholars that we are given. So we do work with students with special needs, scholars with special needs, and we have educators who work with scholars with special needs in their real job, so to speak. So what we provide is high impact tutoring, which is based on the principles defined by the Annenberg Institute, meaning that we work in very small groups of 1-to-1 tutor to scholar ratio up to 1-to-4 tutor to scholar ratio. We use diagnostic pre-assessments and post-assessments to determine A, where is the scholar right now in terms of their math and literacy readiness, and we then target our tutoring, which is delivered in blocks of time from 30 to 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week. We target that tutoring to what we learned about the scholar's knowledge, skills, and abilities in that pre-diagnostic assessment. The post-diagnostic assessment, of course, measures where did the scholar end after tutoring. Tutoring during the school year is done in 2 15-week segments, and during the summer, it varies from 8 weeks to 5 weeks, depending on how much time our partner can give us.
If a student scholar wants to receive your services, how does that go about happening? How are they chosen? How do they qualify?
When we're working with school or district partners, the school or district partner and the New Jersey Tutoring Corps have a data sharing agreement. And what that means is that the school or district shares scholar data with us, we share scholar data with them, and so the school or district is essentially identifying the scholars that they want us to work with based on need in math or literacy. When we're working with a community partners like the Boys and Girls Club or the Y Alliance send notification home to parents that tutoring will be in addition to the program. There's coding, there's basketball, there's all kinds of different activities at the Boys and Girls Clubs and the YMCAs. Tutoring is incorporated into that schedule. So they notify parents that tutoring is available, and parents then opt in or opt out.
Because this is a newer organization, you've done some studies and you released a report for the upcoming 2022-23 school year. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing, how students are doing post-pandemic, and as we ultimately head into the school year, what you're going to be dealing with?
So I'll address your first question first, which is the findings from the report that we've just released from the 22-23 school year. In that report, which was compiled by an external evaluator, so we provide all of our data to someone outside of our organization, completely external. The person that we happen to use is a qualified researcher. She understands and applies psychometric principles to the data that we supply. We supply both qualitative data through surveys that we collect from our scholars, our tutors, our site coordinators, our coaches, and our clients, and then quantitative data, which is that pre and post diagnostic assessment. She then runs her analyses and provides the information back to us. So in our 22-23 school year, our scholars grew from grade level proficient. 16% of our scholars were grade level proficient or above at the beginning of our program. At the end of our program, 40% of our scholars were at grade level or above proficiency in mathematics. In literacy, at the start of our program, 23% of our scholars were at or above grade level proficiency, and at the end, 40% as well. were now grade level proficient or above. In
Yeah.
terms of scholars who weren't grade level proficient, we also saw gains. So our scholars gained in almost every grade level in both math and literacy. And the analyses that our external researcher applies showed that our data, that 16 to 40%, 23 to 40%, was accurate at a 99% level of statistical significance. In math, each individual grade, K to 6, K to 5, was also statistically significant. And in literacy, grades 1, 2, and 3, the results were statistically significant.
Right. So that's really impressive data to see how they're improving. But can we take it back a step? And what are the biggest challenges that students and teachers are facing coming out of the pandemic that is leading to these 14% literacy? That's alarming. So can you talk to that?
So, as you know, the pandemic impacted our scholars and our teachers in many ways. When we first started our program in the summer of 21, the tutors and other field staff members with which we were working, in many cases, our pre-service educators had never worked face-to-face with a scholar before. It was all virtual. So this was their first face-to-face experience, and it was astonishing to watch. Our tutors learn a lot about the profession and about themselves and their fit for the profession through our program. I cannot tell you how many tutors we have had work with us who tell us, this program validated my decision. I absolutely know that I want to become a teacher. And now I know what I need to do to be successful. We also had, in one instance, a tutor tell us, I discovered that I absolutely do not want to be a teacher. And that is equally important because we want people in our classrooms working with our scholars who truly want to be there and have that passion for education. So I would say the face-to-face experience is one critical factor. For us, building that relationship, because we are working in small groups of 1-to-1 up to 1-to-4, that close relationship that a scholar has now with a caring young adult or adult is critical to the success of our program. Having that ability to bond, to get to know. We focus on social emotional learning, social justice, as well as academics. And bringing all of that together and into play results in the kind of data that we see for our program. For the first 3 program cycles in mathematics, our scholars grew on average by 25 percentage points in math. That's pretty amazing.
What is it that your tutors are doing differently than teachers are able to accomplish? The potential's there that, the students lost so much while they were out of school, virtual instruction, or if they had any instruction at all. So what is it that your tutors are doing different that's helping to connect those dots with the students to see measurable data?
Well, first, I think that our teachers are doing an amazing job. As a teacher myself and a New Jersey State Teacher of the Year, I am very familiar with what's happening in classrooms, and our teachers are doing an amazing job. We have the benefit of having those small groups. We have the benefit of personalizing instruction based on diagnostic data in small group settings. A teacher is typically working with 25 to 30 scholars at a time. And so they are doing phenomenal work. They are personalizing instruction. Scholars are growing their skills, but having those small groups makes a big difference, particularly when you're working with scholars who do not have the foundational skills that they need in order to be successful moving forward.
Can you talk a little bit about how the New Jersey Tutoring Corps is funded? Do you work with state and local government, county government?
The New Jersey Tutoring Corps was just awarded a $1.5 million appropriation in the state of New Jersey's budget, and we are extremely thankful to the governor, to Senator Teresa Ruiz, to Senator Vin Gopal, and to all of the other senators and assembly persons who supported us in being restored to the budget. and not only restored, but increased in terms of the number of dollars that we are receiving. That money makes our summer program possible. Without that funding, we would not be able to run a summer program. That funding also assists us in helping districts to come on board into a tutoring model. So part of our funding comes from the state. Part of our funding comes from the philanthropic community. We were originally founded by the Overdeck Family Foundation, First Lady Tammy Murphy, and the Community Foundation of New Jersey. And the Overdeck Family Foundation and the Community Foundation of New Jersey provided significant philanthropic funding to start this program. Since then, we have brought on other philanthropic partners as well. And this funding is critical. It's essential. It allows us to work with school districts and offer them a discount, if you will, using some of those funds to offset the cost of our program.
We are running out of time. I tell you, I could talk about this topic all day. Education, is something very near and dear to my heart, and we'd love to catch up with you once the school year starts and talk more about these collaborations, because there's nothing more important than the education of our young people. And we thank you for taking the time to talk with us and explain a little bit about the program and what you're doing.
I appreciate the opportunity.
And we thank you for watching New Jersey Politics. I'm Laura Jones. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.